My respect to our Executive Director and Provost, Dr. Elvira V. Chua, the research conference organizers, fellow researchers, good day. It is indeed a privilege to be one of the participants in this very significant national conference on multicultural education and interdisciplinary studies, an avenue for us, researchers, to share our findings, results, and utilization. I am Mrs. Lani L. Casis, Master Teacher to Bayugan National Comprehensive High School, and I would like to introduce to you the co-author of this research, my brilliant advisor, no other than Dr. Elvira V. Chua. A teacher is said to be the aviator in the journey to quality education. Quality education requires competent teachers to produce quality and competitive learners. Milkova 2012. Teachers should be equipped with content and pedagogical skills before the class starts. As a class manager, the teacher has to plan thoroughly the class with the consideration of learning goals that must be achieved in a session. Planning demands for lesson exemplars that will be used as guide in teaching the lesson. Gafoor and Kurukan 2015. Lesson exemplars serve as classroom manual to guide the teacher in performing all activities. In delivering lesson of a teacher's plan, strategy plays a great role in the teaching and learning process. Manipulatives, which involves 5 senses of the body, will help learners draw out the concepts to be learned. Ferner 2017 agreed that the proper use of concrete or semi-concrete materials considered as manipulatives can be important tools to students if they are used in a right way. Otherwise, meaningful learning cannot be achieved. Bar modeling strategy, using bar models as manipulatives, has been used in Singapore as their basic tool in teaching mathematics. It is designed with shapes and colors, attracting the learners to manipulate the bars as device. This strategy enabled the students to construct their own ideas from concrete manipulative materials, then transfer to representational models like pictures and diagrams, leading and bridging to the abstract level of understanding of symbols and operations. Operations in polynomials and factoring polynomials can be taught with the use of bar modeling strategy. Competencies in polynomials were identified as least learned of the grade 10 mathematics students of Bayugan National Comprehensive High School. Their low MPS in algebra contained mainly the division of polynomials. The low status of grade 10 students' competency in polynomials is a risk in pursuing to higher mathematics in senior high school. The constructivism theory of Brunner 1960 emphasized the conceptual interrelatedness providing multiple representations. This learning theory advances the stages of representation, namely inactive or concrete stage, iconic or pictorial stage of representation. The bar modeling strategy is a concrete stage, since bar models are used in adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing polynomials. Constructivism theory is also supported by Piaget's theory on stages of cognitive development. According to Piaget, children started to learn symbols and theoretical concepts if and only if they experience concrete manipulation. Cavendish, 1980, mentioned in his own unique way of teaching mathematics in Singapore. He used bars as basic tool in teaching the algebra. Students were taught to use rectangular bars to represent terms of polynomials. For the research paradigm, division of polynomials was found the least learned competency of the participants, which resulted from the analysis of the first quarter pretest and first periodic test of grade 10 students. The least learned competencies were determined and analyzed to design the lesson exemplars. The development model adopted in this study was ADDIE model. The ADDIE model is the generic process traditionally used by instructional designers. These 5 phases are analysis, design, development, implementation, and evaluation. This method embodies dynamic and flexible guideline for constructing lesson exemplars, Dick and Carey 2014. After the development of lesson exemplars, they were subjected to validity in content and instructional plan. Meanwhile, usability validity includes ease of learning, ease of recall, error control, efficiency, effectiveness, and satisfaction. As a result, there was a validated lesson exemplars using bar models as the strategy. The study was conducted to develop and validate lesson exemplars in the selected topic in algebra. Specifically, this study sought to answer the following questions. Number 1, what lesson exemplars can be developed for the selected topics in polynomials? And number 2, how valid are lesson exemplars in terms of content validity and usability? For scope and delimitation, all participants were taken from 3 programs offered in bnchs, namely Special Program in Sports, Engineering Science Education Program, and Revised Basic Education Curriculum. This study involved the development of lesson exemplars using 4A's method and bar modeling strategy in addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and factoring of polynomials. The result of this study provided information and insights about what lesson exemplar can be developed for selected grade 10 algebra to the students, teachers, school heads, administrators, and researchers. The study used descriptive developmental method of research, since it described the existing mathematics competency level of grade 10 mathematics classes, as well as it developed lesson exemplars using ADDIE model. The participants of the study were 5 expert validators who validated the instrument to evaluate the content of lesson exemplar, as well as the instrument to evaluate the usability of the lesson exemplar plus the content of lesson exemplar. 4 teacher participants who validated the usability of lesson exemplar, and 168 total student participants who validated the usability of lesson exemplars. The study was conducted in Bayugan National Comprehensive High School at Nara Avenue, Bayugan City. The school is known as the biggest school in terms of students and teachers population in the entire division. For the research instruments, these are the instrument tools to first validate the evaluation tool, and second, the tool to evaluate content and usability of lesson exemplar. On the left table, the highest mean interval is 3.25 to 4 with verbal description very appropriate, interpreted as the item is highly acceptable and no revision is recommended. For the lowest mean interval, that's 1.00 to 1.74 or inappropriate, which means the item is not acceptable. The item is recommended for deletion. On the right table, which is a rating scale for content and usability of lesson exemplar, The highest mean interval is 3.25 to 4.00. Strongly agree with interpretation. The lesson exemplar is highly acceptable and does not need revision. For the lowest mean interval, which means disagree, is interpreted as the lesson exemplar is not acceptable. Result of the study showed that the least learned competency is in algebra. Pre-test result is 26.68% and the post-test is 74.46%, both in dividing polynomials. A constructivism-based lesson exemplar is designed using 4A's method and bar modeling strategy. Then the lesson exemplar developed for addition, subtraction, multiplication, division of polynomials, and factoring polynomials. Uses 4A's method: activate prior knowledge, acquire new knowledge, apply, and assess. During implementation, there were 2 sessions for addition and 2 sessions for subtraction and multiplication. It ended with content validity and usability evaluation. Across the 5 topics of polynomials consisting operations in factoring, the content of lesson exemplars ratings ranks lowest in addition with an average of 3.74, while multiplication ranks the highest, 3.80. Its average rating per topic proved that the experts strongly agreed the validity of content of the lesson exemplar computation of consolidated rating average. The usability validity as evaluated by teacher participants rated 3.89 in addition as the bottom rank. It is followed by subtraction 3.96, multiplication 3.97, while the highest 2 are division and factoring. Evidently, the teacher participants strongly agreed that lesson exemplars were useful in teaching polynomials. From the student participants, addition ranks last with a rating 3.73, while multiplication hits the highest rate of 3.84. There was strong evidence that the student participants who validated strongly agreed with all criteria for all the usability of the lesson exemplars. The study aimed to develop and validate lesson exemplars in the selected topics in grade 10 algebra to be utilized as strategy and instructional material in teaching grade 10 mathematics students. To achieve its goal, these lesson exemplars, namely addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division of polynomials as well as factoring polynomials, were developed and crafted. It was then validated by the expert validators from PNU and from DepEd. The material was pilot tested and administered in bnchs by math teachers with their respective classes with total number of students equal to 168. The bar modeling strategy was facilitated through 4A's methodology of lesson exemplar. The teacher participants carefully followed the crafted lesson exemplars. After the sessions, it was found out that both teachers and students rated strongly agree for the usability of the lesson exemplars. The developed lesson exemplars using 4A's method and bar modeling strategy were valid and useful in teaching operations of polynomials and factoring polynomials. The developed lesson exemplars are recommended for the use of grade 10 mathematics teachers. It can help them improve their facilitation skills in managing mathematics class. It is also suggested that other math teachers would develop lesson exemplars of other algebra topics using 4A's methodology and bar modeling strategy. Teachers in other subject areas may use 4A's method in lesson delivery. It is a way of applying constructivist approach in their classes, which have been encouraged by DepEd to be adopted in the K-12 curriculum. The school administrators may use the result of this study that provide insights on what possible training could be conducted to enhance the teacher's knowledge in algebra. And lastly, the researchers, the result of the study would become future reference for more researches regarding lesson exemplar, and teaching strategies. Now, here are some of the references I used in my study. So that ends my presentation. Thank you so much and mabuhay.